Check it out, it's here. I have the We Are Makers stamp forge. So really excited for this. I have been preparing for the arrival of the stamp forge by just reading up about it and getting myself a little bit prepared and ready to go so that when I do this first look video, I have everything I need to actually make a stamp, because that's what this can help you to do, which is make custom stamps. Now, here's the thing that I kind of disagree with when this was presented on HSN, because one of the things that they said, and I don't know that they necessarily meant to put it this way, but they said, oh, you're going to have everything that you need to make a stamp, and that's very not true. Because you do need a pretty substantial bit of equipment to do this the way that they suggest, and that is you do need an electric cutting machine like a Cricut or a Silhouette or anything that can cut vinyl, essentially, because that is an aspect of making one of the stamps. And I mentioned in my first look at the Silhouette Mint, which I got because I became aware of it actually after I became aware of this product. And so, in wanting to kind of learn more about this, what I ended up finding out was that there was the Silhouette Mint, which also helps you to make stamps, but using a totally different technology. Now, if you did not catch that, I'm going to briefly go over the differences between the two. I'll try not to be too redundant, just in case folks have seen that, and that way I know that my first look videos can be pretty long. I film these in real time because it's real. I try to keep it real so that this isn't, I mean, I'll do more if I end up keeping this, but I'm not 100% sure I will. But if I end up keeping this, I will do more in-depth tutorials, but this is my out-of-box experience, so it takes as long as it takes, folks. I know that that might be long for some people, but feel free to speed it up 2 times if you want. And the idea of my first look video is just to give you my unvarnished kind of opinion upon, just getting to open everything up and see how easy it is to use out of the box. However, I'm not unprepared. I have researched, I've watched everything I could find. There's only like 2 user videos that I could find on people who are not folks at We Are Memory Keeper or We Are Makers who have used this. And so I try to watch everything and, come into these first look videos as educated as possible so that I know what I'm doing, more or less. Now, here's the background. So the process that this uses for making a stamp is actually, it has been around since the 70s. And a fellow, I believe his name is Dan Weldon, he came up with this idea of creating, actually this was part of printmaking, part of like letterpressing. And he came up with a process of using photopolymer kind of resin plastic, exposing it to light, and creating plates, what they used to call solar plates, that you can letterpress with. And so in print, this has been used in printmaking for quite some time. And so this is just like a small version of it. You can see the plates are going to be small because they fit into this, which is about about 3 by 4 is what, this ends up being. And so that's about as large of a stamp as you can create. And so the idea is that what you get in this kit is your plates. These are your photopolymer plates. You get this unit here, which is what you will sandwich everything together to actually cure the plates, and I'll talk a little bit about that process. You have the UV lamp. So if I just separate things out a little bit, these are the things that you need to actually make your stamp. You need this sandwich combination, the photopolymer plates, and a UV lamp to cure it. Now, I've watched a lot of videos on solar plates, letterpressing with photopolymer plates, and it's really, really fascinating. Very, very cool. Like, people have built their own sort of DIY UV boxes to do larger plates, and so it's kind of neat. And what basically happens is that we are going to, in this package here, I imagine, I haven't yet even read this because I'm literally unboxing it for the first time, but in this package is your photopolymer plate and a vinyl sheet. The vinyl sheet is what we will cut our design into, and that's why you're going to need an electric cutting machine like a Cricut. And when you cut your design into that, you're going to weed out the part that you want to actually be the stamped image and use that vinyl to block or cover your plate. The parts that you weeded out, you'll be able to see your photopolymer plate through. And then when you go to cure it, what happens is the UV reacts with the photopolymer plates and it will cure it. It will harden it. So once that is hardened sufficiently, you can take your photopolymer plate out of this, and then anything that was under the bit of vinyl that you did not weed out, it will wash away, and you're going to end up with a relief, and that's how you're going to have a stamp. So that's the technology. Very, very different from a Silhouette Mint, which is a thermal printer. You can check out that on my first look video of the Silhouette Mint. Now, I did think that perhaps what I would try to do, I made this, which should be roughly the size, of the stamp. So I thought I would kind of try to make stamps that were going to be equivalent to what I made with the Silhouette Mint. I made something very similar to this right here without the panda, which I added. I thought that was really cute. I'm actually going to abandon that idea because I actually don't think that's going to be successful. And that's why my guess is I don't know yet. I'm very skeptical that I'll keep this in actuality. We'll see. I'll try to use it a little bit, but it just then does let you return things, so I might end up returning it because I don't know. We'll see. But let me continue with the unboxing. So we're gonna have in here our UV lamp, this case here for doing the actual print, or sandwiching everything together to make the print. You have your package, which is photosensitive, so that's why it's in the silver bag, so that it doesn't get exposed to light. And I don't know how many. I think we get 4 that come inside here. So that's actually something that I kind of like, is that we're getting a lot to start with. We get 4 roughly just under 3x4 inch plates. That's a lot to play with, out of the box. So I do like that, because I felt like with the Silhouette Mint, boy, like you get two stamps and that's it, and they're small stamps too. And now I'm here waiting for more because I want to make more, but I've already used up both of them. Now, we have this precision little mini stamp platform, super cute. There's like a little bit of foam that you, I don't know why it just doesn't come assembled with it, but you probably always want to have this because it's always a little bit nice to have a little bit of foam when you're stamping into it, so that your stamp kind of goes into something that has a little bit of give to it. But the idea is that these always kind of fit right there, and then you can just push down. This is kind of nice. I mean, this is nice. This has some weight to it. It's felted at the bottom, and the idea is it's not going to be quite as, like, necessary, I would say, for such a small thing here. But the idea is, like, I'm gonna use this. This is one reason why I might keep the whole thing, is because this is nice and heavy, and you know, if you're trying to stamp out something large, this is really nice to try to get even pressure across a large stamp without because otherwise you're gonna do like something like this. You know, this is what I end up doing, and you're putting like pinpoint pressure with your fingers or with your palm, whereas this, you know, it's got a nice surface here, and it can give you, you know, sort of dispersed, more even pressure like that. Oh, I forget, this does go with this whole setup here. You do need this. The brush is going to be what helps you to clear away the unexposed photopolymer so that you wash it off and you have the relief of your image. This brush is pretty rough. I saw other tutorials of how to do printmaking with photopolymer plates. You know, they recommended like a rough brush, but they also recommended a soft brush, and those are relative terms. I don't know, you know, what they mean when they say soft and what they mean when they say rough. To me, this feels rough. So it's gonna take away more of your photopolymer, but that also might mean that it scratches up the surface of what you intend to be your stamped image too. So I think I'm gonna have to be a little bit gentle, a little bit careful with this, because I feel like this is on the rough side. So we have those for the actual stamp making, and they give you a little roll of double-sided adhesive. This is not, if you buy clear stamps, it does not appear that this is the same as, you know, kind of your cling stamps, where it will cling to your stamping lid or platform. Doesn't appear like that's going to be the case. So they've included some double-sided tape because you're going to need to have a way to stick your custom stamp onto your plate. So that's why there's this. And so these are more your accessories for actually stamping out your custom stamp once you've made it. So the instructions are these. I've watched as much as I could, but I'll kind of go over this because the step-by-step photo instructions are pretty nice and they're fairly short. So here, number 1 is place the vinyl sheet, and you have to cut it out with your cutting machine. So, you know, that doesn't come inside the box here. So when the promoters on HSN said you have everything that you need to make your own custom stamps, not true. You need a cutting machine, and those are expensive. I mean, even the Cricut Joy, which would be great for this size of project, it can be spendy too. That costs more, a Cricut Joy, than this system here. So bear that in mind. This might not be for everybody because you do need a way. Now, that's a way to get your design, but the idea is that you have this bit of vinyl. It's black, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna weed out, you're gonna remove the vinyl that is going to be the area you actually want to print. So you're basically going to leave the negative, essentially. And because it's clear, it will allow the UV light to hit the photopolymer plate and harden in those areas, and that's what's going to set. And when you go to rinse this out on step 6 here, that's what you're washing away, is everything that was under the black. Now, a cutting machine is going to be what makes cutting that bit of vinyl a lot easier. There's nothing to say that you can't cut your own image with whatever, maybe a craft knife. I feel like that's hard to do. I'm not artistic, and I'm not going to be able to do that. And and for that reason, because it requires a cutting machine, that's why I don't think it has any chance to cut that lettering. Like, zero chance. I'm almost positive of it, and I'll even tell you why I'm almost positive, because I did a test of, there's this like hot pink heat transfer vinyl actually. And see that, I don't know if you can see that T. See the T there? That's the T in Handcrafted. And I really don't think that's the among the larger letters, and I really don't think any of this scripted stuff cut very well. I mean, it might be that I don't really know how to set up an SVG file so that it effectively will cut with the Cricut, so maybe there's more to learn there. But I'm gonna try to set myself up for success for this first project, so I'm abandoning that. Next up is, it says in a dark room, because it is photosensitive, you want to peel off the liner to your plate. You want to make a sandwich combination in this handy case here. And here's why the case is important. And I actually, hopefully this works as intended, but a lot of printmakers, what they will do is they'll have a bit of foam, they'll have their plate, they'll have the vinyl on top of it, and then sandwich all of that in between maybe two pieces of glass, clear glass, and then they will bulldog clip everything together. This case is essentially a way to bulldog clip everything together. Now, the reason why that's important is this. Let's say that this is our photopolymer plate, right? This is what's in the package and will eventually become the stamp. Now, if we had a, let's say this is that black bit of vinyl where I cut out my design, okay? So pretend that's my vinyl, pretend that's the stamp that I want to make. So that's, the aperture is basically what's going to allow UV to hit, and that's going to harden. Everything under here is going to still be soft and be able to wash away. Now, if this wasn't clamped together really tight so that it's making like firm contact against the plate, what's going to happen is you're going to get a little bit of ghosting. Like if it's hovering a little bit, even if it has like just the smallest of little gaps, what's going to happen is, I'm going to exaggerate the gap. So if your gap is like this, right? Once UV light comes through here, it's actually going to spread out beyond the perimeter of that aperture, and you're going to get a fuzzy image. You're going to get fuzzy outlines. You're going to get ghosting. And so it's really important to have a tight sandwich between your vinyl with your pattern of what you want to stamp and the photopolymer plate, which is your substrate. And that's why, I imagine that's why we have this bit of foam here, because the foam is going to be what makes this whole thing, nice and tight. This is really clamped together pretty. Oh, this is hard to open. Okay, I'll be working on that in the background. But that is why it's important to really have a tight sandwich. Okay, so once we have our sandwich, it's clamped together, then it says to center the case inside of the UV lamp and use default brightness setting. Select one of the corresponding timers for 3 to 9 minutes. Now, I've heard a lot of places suggest something on the order of 6 minutes. So I guess that's what I'll do. Now, this is, the increments here are 60 seconds. So 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So that's what that is. This can be a 24 watt or a 48 watt. When it says default settings, I'm not 100% sure what the default settings are. But once you've cured it, had a time to bake it in the UV lamp, then you can wash this under hot water. That's going to remove everything that was blocked by your bit of vinyl and the area that you want to be your stamp should be hardened. You have to cure it again, and then it says you're going to be able to cut the stamp. So it is a plastic, but it seems like you can cut it. Okay, so it does say that the power switch is 24 watt, 48 watt. And you can press the on-off button for 2 seconds to switch the power between 24 and 48. The default brightness setting is 48. Okay, so they want us to use 48. Okay. And so just, I guess, do a single press, not a press and hold on that. Alright, so let me show you what I'm going to do instead of the design that I had worked really hard to, like, create an SVG in preparation of receiving this. This came just last night, and so I wanted to be ready to make my first project as soon as it arrived. And unfortunately, as I brought it into my Cricut design space, I just really didn't think that it would look good. So here's what I'm going to do instead. So I have Cricut design space here. I have 2 SVG files these are just ones that I got on Creative Fabrica. I mean, you can get SVGs anywhere. And I know that my stamp is the space that I have to work with is what did I say it was? Just under 3 by 4. Okay, so just under 3 by 4. So what I want to do is let's scale this. You want to make sure that you lock the aspect ratio so that if you're scaling it, it doesn't distort. So let's say the height, if we made this 4 inches, I want to see if maybe I can still get both. So if I made this that's 4 by 4. Okay, so that's pretty, that's like 3.5 by 4. Okay, so this is pretty wide. So let's make this, if we did this at 3. Oh, really? It can only fit the 1. Here's what's gonna make it a little bit easier. I'm gonna make a square, or actually this will be a rectangle, that is 3 by 4. Oh, 3 by 4 is small. Look how small that is. Okay, that's not a lot. Alright, so I made the square only so that I can really just play with these in terms of the scale of them. And oh yeah, you can't really, well, let's say, should we just make one big stamp? I feel like, well, okay, it's so hard to see what's real life. So like if I just tried to make one big stamp, 3 by 4 is that big. That would be for like on a card, on an A2 card. That's the scale. So kind of feel like if I did 3 by 4, like tried to really maximize this, it would be pretty big. It would take up a good portion of the card. But let's try it. I thought I could maybe get both the panda and the Life Begins After Coffee, but I don't think I can. So I'll just do this. I'd rather have one really good one that I can use than 2 that I'm not gonna really get much use out of. Okay, so I can hide that now. That's the size that I want. Now here's the thing. If I go to make this, I think what's gonna happen is these all will be separate. I don't need to save it. And they're not gonna stay in, see how this is what the Cricut does. It tries to make it really efficient for your use of your vinyl. That's not what we want. We want everything to stay in place. So what you need to do if you're using something like this is you can just attach it all. So now that it's attached, they are going to stay in the same position relative to each other. So now when I go to make this, see how it's all together now? And I still have like, if I look at 3 to 4, like the 3-inch, I think there's enough buffer. There's a good inch down here or so. I mean, I can move this down if I really want to center it a little bit, but that's basically how it will cut. Now, we need to mirror this because we're making a stamp, and so when you go to stamp it, you're going to flip it upside down and then make your impression. So in flipping it upside down, it's going to get mirrored. So when we cut this, we want to cut it so that it's mirrored. So there's that. And okay, now let's open this and try to be careful with the photopolymer plate. It's sealed really nicely, and it has a Ziploc seal too. So I'm gonna try not to expose this to too much light. And I wish they had, knowing that this is photosensitive, I wish they had packaged, it would have made sense to package the vinyl outside of this. You know what I mean? So that you don't have to open this until you're really, really ready. This is our vinyl, and you can see how glossy this is, and then how dull this is. This basically is, if you've ever worked with heat transfer vinyl, it's very similar to your heat transfer vinyl in that it will have like a carrier sheet underneath. That's the shiny bit here, and your vinyl is here. So this is what we need to cut into, and there's 4. Oh, that's interesting. I thought what I bought was just the bundle, but there's another pack of this, and like outside of the box they gave an extra set of plates this is, I think, bonus that I wasn't aware I was getting, but I think this was extra little bonus, because I think when you get the bundle, this is what comes like inside the box. You saw me like literally just unbox this in front of you, so that's what actually comes, but I got an extra bundle there, so that's kind of cool. I do really love the fact that you get a lot of plates to start with. It makes it so that you can be like a little bit less scared to do some of this and just try things out and experiment a little bit, because otherwise, like, I kind of feel like I would be really, really precious and really, really worried. And that's one thing with the Silhouette Mint. You know, you only get the 2, and then it kind of feels like, oh, you know, you have to really know what you're doing, because you don't want to mess those up. That's all you got, and they're not super cheap, you know, to replace. I usually use a brayer to really get this to firmly stick, but hey, the slow stamp tool works great for that too. Now, what we need to do is, now I need to actually cut this through my Cricut. Now, this, I mean, it does say to note that very thin or intricate lines may not transfer. Transfer is not the right word, though. I mean, they really mean cut. So this says vinyl, so I'm just gonna cut this on the standard vinyl setting on the Cricut. It doesn't really say differently. So I will go over and change that setting on my Cricut. And so what we can do is I'll bring that up, and then we'll say we have this mirrored, it's ready to go. Just want to double check I have it oriented the correct way. And then continue. And let's see. My Cricut machine is on. Okay, there we go. Final, and now we're ready. So it'll be interesting to see how this does, because there are some small details in this. The lettering, though, I feel like is pretty large. The design is pretty large, so hopefully on the whole it cuts okay. And I might need to pause, let this finish if it's taking a long time to cut in real time, and then I can come back after I've weeded it. But the nice thing about this is that it is larger than your than the Silhouette mint stamps. So just want to bring those out here for comparison. So I have here's our vinyl. So by comparison, this is about as wide as this. But look at how it's only if that's kind of on the edge, like this is maybe 4 times as large as this. Now this isn't the largest stamp that you can get in the Silhouette mint. I also picked up this was 15 by 60. This is 30 by 60. So there's that. So this is maybe half the size of what you can do with the Stamp Forge. So this isn't the largest either. You can get, I think, 45 by 90. So, they do come larger than this, but even 45 by 90... Oh, actually 45, let's see, this is 30 plus 15. And then 60 plus 30. Oh, you know what? If you get a 45 by 90, that's almost bigger. It's probably just as big as this 45 by 90. Huh. Yeah, I might just, we'll see. Well, I will reserve judgment. I want to use them both enough. But I'm telling you right now, the fact that I couldn't, the fact that I have like zero confidence that a design like this would work means I'm already leaning towards the mint. And feeling a little bit relieved that HSN has a good return policy, because I struggled. There was a little bit of a learning curve to take a design from Illustrator and turn it into a clean SVG that will cut cleanly. And I'm glad that I did the test, because it didn't cut very well. We'll see how well this one cuts. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to weed this, meaning you need to pull out the portions of the design that you want to actually be your stamp. So you want to leave all of the things that you don't want to be a part of your image. So I can't find my weeding tool. I had it a second ago. But you can weed with anything. So the design I want has the word coffee. So if you bend this back, you might be able to actually kind of see. So I want the lettering. See, you can pull that out. And just want to take your time to really get everything out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause the video here and then finish weeding this, and then I'll come back with the fully weeded design, and then we'll pick up the process from there. Okay, I'm back and we have a little bit of mood lighting. So this is actually not quite dark room settings. I have the glow of my monitor, which is light, but it's not a ton of light. But I do have a red lamp on. And back in the day, I used to kind of do a lot of dark room stuff. And so I've just minimized the amount of light that's in here because these plates are photosensitive, and it was advertised that they do have an expiration date too. So I don't see that date printed on here, but I think I read or heard that it lasts a year, something like that. So I'm gonna pull a plate out, quickly seal the rest up, and so what you'll find is on one side there's gonna be, yeah, it's only on one side, there's gonna be a liner that you can peel off. So you want to peel that off. You want to put your vinyl on here. You want to make sure that the vinyl is on here such that it is mirrored just like this, because then, you know, when you go to stamp it, it will stamp correctly. So I will just do that, line this up. We want to put it inside the case. So there's that foam in there. Put this in here, get it to line up, and clamp this down. Make sure it's really closed all the way around. Because like I said, if this isn't firmly pushing everything down and making sure that that vinyl is making really firm contact with the plate, then you might get some ghosting. Okay, so now on our UV lamp here, the lights are down the center. Here. So what I want to do is, you saw it turn on a moment ago because it's motion activated, so let's get this in as much in the center as possible. And then I'm going to do 3 minutes, and I'm going to go for 6 minutes because that's what I think Ali Dossel, who presented this on HSN, I think she said that she would recommend 6. They say 3 to 9, so I'll go in between. So I'll come back after 6 minutes and show you the next step. Okay, it has run for 6 minutes. I did 2 3-minute cycles. Kind of warm actually. I just like moved my hand across here and it's actually a little bit warm. Now, just so that you know, I ended this a little bit late, but what I did out of curiosity was I wanted to see how accurate their timer is. If it's like a good, if it's actually 3 minutes, and it pretty much is. I stopped this kind of late, but I glanced over when this turned off and it was right on the money, 3 minutes. So we have that, and you saw not quite midway, but about midway through, what I did was I decided to I took this out and then I turned it 180 just to just for some extra insurance, make sure that there's even light hitting all of this. I'm tempted to have it go for another 3 minutes because I have some pretty big areas here, so I really want to make sure that these aren't just small, like a lot of the really small detail areas, I'm pretty sure, maybe don't, they're probably fine, but I'm wondering if I should go an extra 3 minutes. Let's just do 6 and we'll just see. We'll live on the wild side. Okay, now I'm not going to complete this process on camera, but I wanted to just sort of show what you would be doing, but I think ideally you want to be doing this under running water, which is what they suggest. I just have this tub of water here, and I'll just do a little bit just to see, you know, how it looks. The idea is that what you want to do now is remove the photopolymer plate out of the case, and this you can actually use for whatever you want to use it for. This doesn't look like anything has happened to it. I don't see any visible change to it, so let's hope that once we start scrubbing it away, hopefully we'll start to see a stamp appear out of this. Now, the beauty of this process, so if you've ever done any sort of screen printing, you might be familiar with, there's like a methodology of making your own screen prints, and it does involve chemicals that are hazardous. But photopolymer actually is non-toxic. That said, I wouldn't want to be doing this where you've got like some food or something, or anything like that. But you don't necessarily need to glove up or anything. Now it's getting kind of slimy. This is like the best word I can use to describe it. I'm going kind of aggressively in these corners because I know my image isn't anywhere near there. But as I get a little bit closer to the center, where my image, let's just go over my image area a little bit. And we'll see if we can start to see anything or feel anything happening right now. Oh, I can sort of feel it's a little bit raised. This might go faster under some warm running water, which is what they recommend. So I'm gonna transition to that and then I'll come back. But oh, you can kind of start to see it. You can sort of see it starting to appear. Oh, this is cool. Okay, let me just do a little bit more. You kind of have to be patient with this. I don't want to scrub. I'm not pushing down. I'm really just moving it across the surface. I'm not pushing down because I don't want to rough up the surface of the where the stamp image is. Really just want to get, and you don't even have to worry too much if you're gonna plan on like trimming away a large portion of the excess where there's no design, like on the corners and whatnot. But yeah, it's starting to get right. I can feel the relief. The raised image. This is kind of cool. And this is a little bit cooler than I thought it would be, to be honest. I felt a little bit deflated when I realized my original design probably is not gonna work, but this is kind of neato. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, because I think this is gonna be slower, you know, what I'm doing right now. So I'm gonna pause again, but you can kind of see it's starting to come to life. So we'll see how raised this actually is, but I think I'm gonna have to work at it a little bit more under some warm water with, you know, continuous brushing. So I'm gonna pause again and I'll come back once that's done. Back again. So I have actually, I think, done a pretty good job. Look at that relief. Pretty nice, huh? Now, this might be a little bit clipped here. So something to bear in mind, my vinyl, it was not clipped. Like, you can still see black there, but I think as I was positioning it, just didn't position it well. So, like, even this, I could have maybe scooched it over a little bit when I cut it. Push it a little bit there so that it's more centered. But you just have to be patient, and all of that kind of works itself out. This part here is nice and smooth and hardened. This part here, a little bit tacky. And I think that is to be expected, because it does recommend that we actually cure this whole thing one final time. So, let me just double check the instructions. It says you want to do it again for another 3 to 9 minutes. It's strange that that's the instruction, because 3 to 9 minutes is it's pretty wide. It's a pretty wide spectrum there. But I'll turn this on. We'll pop it in centered as possible, and then I'm gonna go for 6 minutes. We'll do middle of the road again. So I'm gonna go for 6 minutes, and then we'll come back. We'll stamp this out. Actually, what I'll probably do is I'll probably trim it, because I could probably just leave it, really, but I could probably trim a little bit of this off, a little bit of that off, on the actual plate there. As this is going, though, before I cut away, just a couple things I'm already noting as differences between this and the Silhouette Mint, if you are interested in a comparison. The process for this is much, much more work. It's a lot more work. You need a lot more different things to actually get a final product. You have to know a lot of more tools and tips and techniques and stuff. So have to know how to use something like an electric cutting machine like a Cricut to cut vinyl. You have to know and have the tools for weeding vinyl. You have to if you want to make something custom, that's a whole other skill set too, like learning how to actually create an SVG that cuts nicely. That I found to be a little bit of a task when I was originally trying to create a design that I could maybe make as part of this process, and also make in my Silhouette Mint, so that I can compare the two. And I only have the small blocks. I only have actually one more block that is available. I've ordered more, but they just haven't arrived yet. So I can't really do an apples to apples comparison right now, but I do plan to take the same design and make it both ways. But this is a lot more work. It's a lot of 6-minute bake times under the lamp. I probably had this under the sink for a good 5 minutes or so, just to, kind of scrub that away. It's work to weed this out. It took a few minutes to just weed, all these little bits out. And just depending on how intricate your design is, that could be no time at all. Or for this, I had a lot of all those little dots that was like forever to weed out. So all in all, there's just a lot more involved with getting a final product out of the stamp forge. Not to mention needing an electric cutting machine to do this. So that's not trivial. Whereas the Silhouette Mint, you can create, if you know how to use like Photoshop, Illustrator, etc., you can create a custom design and print it just like you would print something with your laser printer, with your inkjet printer. It is that easy. If you don't have another software, you can always use the Mint Studio, which is free. You can download it and install it for free. It's kind of similar to Cricut Design Space or whatever the Silhouette equivalent is. It probably has some very specialized features for the Silhouette Mint to print it, just the right scale size and mirror it and all of that business, but it even auto mirrors stuff for you, so you don't even have to remember that step. And whereas you have to remember, you need to mirror this when you go to make your stamp, because otherwise you're gonna stamp it and it's going to be backwards. So so there's a lot of stuff like that with the Silhouette Mint. I feel like, I mean, I know that video was long, but I didn't have to cut away and do like wait for 6 minutes a bunch of times and wash something under the sink and all of that jazz. And so all in all, it was much faster beginning to end than this is. Now, what are some pros? Like, why would somebody want something like this as opposed to the Silhouette Mint? Well, I will say out of the gates having, I think, 8 plates, because the box came with 4. I don't know if this was just HSN throwing in like an extra little things, because it was their birthday week and this launched during their birthday week. So I don't know if this was just like a birthday little extra. But I got 8 stamps to start with. That's a lot to play with. A set of 8 like this is not cheap. It's, I think, $26. So $26, for 8 of them, that's maybe what, $3.50 or so per plate, per this size of plate. So, they're not super cheap, but as compared to the Silhouette Mint, I think the Silhouette Mint, if I got the 45 by 90, which I kind of estimated to be roughly the size, not exactly the same aspect ratio, but roughly the same size, I think for a 2-pack, that 2 sets of that, it's pretty expensive compared to these. So I think that the Silhouette Mint stamp sheets are actually more expensive than these photopolymer plates. And then, so that's just the practicality of everything. But in terms of actually using this, see, this is less sticky already. I'm gonna cure this one more time just to get a little bit more of the stick out. I don't know, I can't remember if I turned it, but let's do another one. So, so there is that, the cost, per stamp, and maybe as I make more of these, I'll break down the cost comparison and, we'll figure it out, but roughly the actual cost of, this box and the Silhouette Mint were about the same, because this I got on their birthday sale, 50 some odd, 55 or so. But this came with some extra little tools. Like, it came with this little mini stamp press, and this one I think is the more useful thing. I'll probably use this. You'll probably start to see me use this in other videos, because it's I like it. So there's that. There's the cost of the consumables to consider. Now here's, I think, really the biggest consideration of which one is right for you if you want to go down the road of custom stamp making. And that is that what I'm making right now that's baking under this UV lamp is actually going to work much more like a clear stamp or a red rubber stamp than this. This is pre-inked. This already has ink on it, and I kind of have to finish using this up before I can kind of change out the colors. So, there's already ink there. And so you can't immediately take this, ink it up in your favorite color, and then use it. It's gonna be whatever ink color you loaded into it. you're stuck with that until it runs dry and you have an opportunity to re-ink it with something else, and then you're stuck with that until that runs dry and you have an opportunity to re-ink it with something else. And you may never really get like the exact color if you're gonna do it that way. I'm sure there's a way to like clean it in between so that you don't have like cross-contaminated colors, but it's different to having this, which is more like a clear stamp. So with a clear stamp, when you go to use it, you can choose what ink color you want. You can do a heat emboss. You can ink with a clear sticky ink and then pour embossing powder over it and then emboss with it. So this is going to function much more like a standard clear stamp, red rubber stamp that maybe you would use in your card making. This functions a bit more akin to something like a self-inking stamp that, maybe it's great for address, stamping your address, stamping things like this so that I want to put on the back of cards, for example. Maybe you have like a small business, you just want to stamp out little tags as a little thank you note or something like that. So that's, what this is good for, but for card making purposes, I don't know that you would necessarily want to make a stamp and have it be used for your card making. So that's something to consider. So now let's see how easy or hard it is to cut this. So I'll just try, because technically, if I could have, designed it right, I could have maybe, if I wanted smaller stamps, for example, I could have maybe tried to fit 2 stamp designs on here. So I'm just gonna trim. It's not super hard to cut through. It's kind of crunchy. This is not your like cling kind of stamp, clear stamp. Okay, so because I think what this basically is plastic that has the photopolymer material that's soft, a layer of that on top, and then through the curing process, some of it gets hardened, and then some of it washes away. You get a relief. Let's see if you can see how. Let's see if it's possible to show how raised it is. It's not super raised, but honestly, I think this is more raised than what it most definitely is more raised than what the Silhouette Mint will do for you. Because this is just like barely raised. Like you can see it, but this is thinner lines, so it's a little bit harder to tell. Okay, so now proof is in the pudding. Let's actually stamp something out. So now remember, this isn't a cling stamp, so there's no... Am I gonna need 2? Let's just put 2, because this is kind of big. I don't want it to drop on me. Now, if you don't want to use double-sided adhesive, you could maybe run like a removable tape runner, just like a little bit of removable tape, so you can position this where you want, and then push this down to pick up the stamp. Okay. Let's use that same piece of paper. So let's do that. Okay. Let's ink this up. So I'm gonna use some VersaFine. VersaFine's really nice, fine detail stamp, or ink, I should say. So I'm just gonna ink this up like I would a normal stamp. This is kind of exciting. Let's see if it got all of those, those little dot details that took forever to weed out. Let's see if it got all of them. So it looks promising. I wasn't trying to be super careful. So there's some ink on the bottom. So let's see if it's raised enough, that shouldn't matter. And it shouldn't actually transfer. So I'm kind of nervous. Okay, let's see. Look at that. I didn't prime this stamp, so maybe it just needs another inking. I mean, I did get a little bit the edge. So let's just, now that you might have to stamp it a couple times, just like any new stamp. And this is more solid space than let's see. Okay, well now I'm just going to stamp on just some plain copy paper. So this isn't really nice cardstock or anything, but let's get that in there. And is this okay? Alright, so still not great. I would almost say that maybe it's the cardstock. Okay, alright. Let's actually get some cardstock on here. Okay, let me clean this because now it's really dirty. So I'm just gonna use the same kind of clear ink cleaner that I would a normal stamp. Clear this off. I mean, it is photopolymer. It for sure doesn't feel like a cling stamp. A photopolymer stamp does, but it definitely is. So, okay. Now, let's ink this up again. And I could try a different ink, but to be honest, like VersaFine's kind of like the best ink, I think. So if it doesn't work well with VersaFine, then that's like kind of my bar for evaluating. Alright, so let's get this in here. Oh, let's use this. Boop. Okay. Yeah, see, it's not great. I'm not super in love with how this transfers. Like, I feel like the design's really good, but this is not grabbing the ink and transferring it very well. I could try, let's try, I can try something more, I can try a dye ink. So let's try a dye ink and see if that makes a difference. But yeah, if this doesn't stamp, like I had pretty high hopes because this looked pretty good in terms of how raised it is, and you can kind of see the detail's pretty good. It's just that it's not grabbing the ink very well. So let me get a Memento ink. And we'll see how it does with that. Well, I have Tuxedo Black, but I don't know where my big one is. I just have the little dewdrop. Alright, this will have to do. Okay. I mean, the stamp is inking up pretty nicely. Looks pretty good. really love using this, their stamping tool. Kind of feel like the paper, it doesn't stay down. Oh, because it doesn't have the magnets to keep it down. Alright, let's see. Yep. Not great. So, I'll play with this more, but I'm not very impressed. So, maybe I'll put it into like my actual stamp positioning tool, because I don't super love this. And see if that makes a difference, and so I'll play with it a little bit more. But I mean, I feel like my very first impression did better than the subsequent ones. I'm not sure why that would be. And I even, I mean, I didn't clean in between, at least two of them. I definitely cleaned between these two because it's different inks. So, yeah, that's, you know, if you look at the stamp, it looks like it created the stamp just fine, and there's some really nice detail, like all these little dots. The detail's pretty good. The line, you know, in the coffee bean is pretty good. So even like, see the A, the inside, that triangle inside the A, that was just the tiniest. That's the tiniest sliver of vinyl that I had to work really hard to keep inside there. But even that detail, I mean, it transferred really, really well. So I think the creation of this stamp is really good. It's just that this material is not, it's not grabbing and transferring the ink as well as an actual photopolymer stamp. Let me play with it a little bit, and if I can get something better, I'll come back with a little bit more to show what result I was able to come up with. But I have to say that I was skeptical going in, really happy with the stamp when it was created, and had very high hopes at that point. But then now that we've stamped it out and I'm not getting really good images, now I'm kind of feeling like, oh, that's a bit of a disappointment. So, because I was skeptical about this part, but I figured once I got to this and had a stamp, then it would stamp really well. That doesn't seem to be the case. Not yet. Let me play with it a little bit. If I figure out what the trick is, I'll come back and speak to that. But if not, I don't know if I'll keep this, because the whole point is not just to make stamps, but make stamps that actually you can use and stamp out. So that's sort of where I'm landing on this right now. But I will continue to play with it regardless of you know, what I'm able to do with this stamp. And hopefully I can come back with a more fulsome, well-informed review, because again, this is my first look, first impressions only. Maybe, you know, there's more things to discover about this. Alright, thanks for checking out this video, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye!